My name is Danny Mitchell, and 3 months ago, I thought I had it all figured out. Married to Jennifer, a successful attorney at Henderson and Associates downtown. Me, I fix computers and networks for small businesses around town. Not glamorous, but steady work that pays the bills. We had our little house on Maple Street, 2 cars in the driveway, and what I thought was a solid marriage. Turns out I was about as wrong as a weather forecast in tornado season. I'm sitting in my cramped studio apartment now, the kind of place where the refrigerator hums loud enough to wake the neighbors and the shower pressure feels like a gentle sneeze. The walls are thin enough that I can hear Mrs. Patterson next door watching her soap operas at full volume. But hey, at least it's mine. Well, mine and the landlord's anyway. The phone rings, cutting through my morning coffee ritual. The caller ID shows Caitlin's name, Jennifer's younger sister. Now that's interesting. Caitlin and I always got along better than Jennifer liked, probably because we both came from the same side of the tracks. The wrong side, according to my ex-wife. Danny, you sitting down? I'm always sitting down these days, Kate. What's up? I found something. About Jennifer. You're not going to like it. My coffee suddenly tastes like burnt rubber. What kind of something? Bank statements. She's been moving money around, Danny. Lots of it, from accounts with your name on them. I lean back in my chair, which creaks like an old ship. How much money are we talking about? Try 15,000, maybe more. All transferred to some private account I've never seen before. 15 grand. That explains why our joint savings looked lighter than expected during the divorce proceedings. I'd chalked it up to legal fees and the general expense of 2 people living separately. Apparently, I was being generous. There's more, Caitlin continues. I saw her last weekend at that fancy restaurant downtown. You know, the one with the valet parking? She wasn't alone. Let me guess. Her boss, Alec Morrison. How did you... Lucky guess. Though it wasn't luck at all. I'd been suspicious for months before everything fell apart. The late nights, the weekend conferences, the way she'd started dressing differently, new lingerie that I never saw her wear, phone calls she'd take in the other room. Before we deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Morrison's one of those guys who looks like he stepped out of a magazine ad for expensive watches. Silver hair, perfect teeth, drives a Porsche that probably costs more than I make in 2 years. He's also married, with 2 kids in private school. Danny, there's something else. I overheard her talking to someone on the phone yesterday. She was laughing about how you never suspected anything, said you were too trusting for your own good. That stings more than the money. Jennifer always was smart, graduated top of her class, made partner at 35, could argue circles around anyone in a courtroom. But I wasn't exactly the village fool she apparently took me for. Where are you getting all this information, Kate? She asked me to house sit last weekend while she went to that legal conference in Chicago. Except she didn't go to Chicago, did she? I found hotel receipts in her purse. Local hotels, Danny. Nice ones. I set my coffee cup down harder than necessary. You went through her purse? She left it sitting open on the kitchen counter with bank statements hanging out. I'm not blind, Danny, and I'm tired of watching her treat you like garbage. Caitlin works as a nurse at the county hospital, pulling 12-hour shifts and dealing with people having the worst days of their lives. She's got more integrity in her little finger than Jennifer has in her whole body. If Kate says something's wrong, something's wrong. What do you want me to do about it? We're already divorced. Are you kidding me? She stole from you. She lied to you. She made you look like a fool in front of everyone we know. And now she's running around town with her married boss like some kind of queen bee. She's right, of course. During the divorce proceedings, Jennifer painted me as the problem. The guy who couldn't appreciate her success, who held her back, who didn't understand her world. Her lawyer, not Morrison, but another shark from the same firm, made me sound like a jealous, controlling husband who couldn't handle his wife's career. Meanwhile, Jennifer got to keep the house, most of our furniture, and apparently $15,000 I didn't know she'd taken. I got this apartment and a monthly payment plan for legal fees that'll keep me eating ramen noodles until next Christmas. I need proof, Kate. Real proof. Bank records, photos, something that holds up. I might be able to help with that. She trusts me, tells me things. What kind of things? Like how Morrison's been promising to leave his wife for her, how they've been planning this for over a year, how she needed to get rid of you first because a messy affair would hurt her career. My hands clench into fists without me realizing it. A year. They'd been planning this for a year while I was working overtime to pay for her law school loans, while I was cooking dinner every night because she was too tired from work, while I was sleeping next to someone who was already gone. There's more, Danny. She's been telling people you were abusive, emotionally abusive, says that's why she had to leave. The coffee cup slips from my fingers and shatters on the linoleum floor. Brown liquid spreads across the faded pattern like a stain on everything I thought I knew about my marriage. That's a lie. I know it's a lie. You know it's a lie. But half the people in town don't know you well enough to be sure. And Jennifer's very convincing when she wants to be. Abusive. The word sits in my stomach like a rock. I never raised a hand to Jennifer. Never even raised my voice except during normal married couple arguments about whose turn it was to take out the trash. But she's smart enough to know that accusations don't need proof to do damage. Just the suggestion is enough to make people look at you differently. I grab some paper towels and start cleaning up the coffee, trying to think clearly. Jennifer's always been 3 steps ahead of everyone else. In law school, she'd study her opponents before mock trials, figure out their weaknesses, then exploit them systematically. Looks like she'd been studying me too. Kate, I need you to do something for me. Name it. Keep your ears open. If Jennifer's planning something else, I want to know about it. And if you can get copies of those bank statements, already made copies, I'll drop them by your place tonight. Won't Jennifer notice they're missing? She left them at my house, remember? As far as she knows, I never saw them. After Caitlin hangs up, I sit in my broken-down recliner and stare at the ceiling. There's a water stain up there that looks like a map of some country I've never visited. Somewhere I'll probably never go now that my savings account has been mysteriously lightened by 15 grand. Jennifer thinks she won. Clean divorce, reputation intact, boyfriend waiting in the wings, and enough of my money to make the transition comfortable. She probably figures I'll slink away quietly, maybe move to another town, start over somewhere else like a beaten dog. She always was smart. But she made one mistake. She underestimated how much I hate being played for a fool. My phone buzzes with a text message. Unknown number. Stop bothering Jennifer or there will be consequences. I stare at the screen for a long moment, then type back, "Who is this?" No response. But I don't need a response to know who's behind it. Morrison's the type who thinks money and position can solve any problem. Probably figures one anonymous threat will send me scurrying back under whatever rock I crawled out from. He's about to learn something about rocks. Sometimes, when you kick them over, you don't like what you find underneath. Frank Kowalski owns a bar called the Rusty Anchor on the east side of town. The kind of place where the beer's cold, the music's loud, and nobody asks too many questions about your personal life. Frank and I go back to high school, and he's one of the few people who didn't suddenly become too busy to return my calls after the divorce. I find him restocking bottles behind the bar at 2 in the afternoon, getting ready for the evening crowd. The place smells like stale beer and industrial-strength cleaner, but it feels more like home than my apartment does. "Danny boy," Frank grins and slides a beer across the bar without being asked. "You look like someone stole your lunch money." "Close. Someone stole $15,000 from my savings account." Frank's smile disappears. "Jennifer? Jennifer?" I take a long pull from the bottle and fill him in on everything Caitlin told me, plus the anonymous text message. Frank listens without interrupting, which is one of his better qualities. He spent 10 years as a cop before his divorce convinced him to try a different line of work. Says he got tired of seeing the worst in people every day, but I think he just got tired of following other people's rules. "So what's your plan?" he asks when I finish. "I don't have a plan. That's why I'm here." "You want my advice? Walk away. Take whatever evidence you've got to a lawyer, see if you can get some of your money back through legal channels, and then move on with your life." "That's it? That's your advice?" Frank shrugs. "It's the smart advice, the safe advice." He leans across the bar and lowers his voice. "But if you want my other advice, the kind I can't officially give you, that's different." I'm listening. "Information is power, Danny. Right now, Jennifer and her boyfriend think they're holding all the cards. They've got money, position, reputation. But they also think you're beaten. That makes them careless." Meaning? Meaning people who think they've won stop watching their backs. They get sloppy. They make mistakes. I think about this while Frank serves a couple of afternoon drinkers who wander in looking like they've been here since last Tuesday. When he comes back, I ask, "What kind of mistakes?" "The kind that leave evidence. Phone records, credit card statements, hotel receipts, maybe photos if you're really lucky." "How am I supposed to get access to any of that?" Frank grins, and for a second I can see the cop he used to be. "You'd be amazed what people throw away, or leave lying around in their cars, or discuss in public places where anyone might overhear. You're talking about following them. I'm talking about being in the right place at the right time. There's a difference." That evening, Caitlin shows up at my apartment with a manila envelope full of photocopied bank statements. We spread them out on my kitchen table like we're planning a military operation. "Look at this," she says, pointing to a series of withdrawals. "Every Friday for the past 6 months. Always the same amount, $500. Always from the ATM at that fancy hotel downtown. The Riverside Inn. That's the one. And look at this." She shows me another statement. Jennifer opened a new account 3 months before she filed for divorce. She's been transferring money from your joint accounts into this one, a little at a time. I study the numbers, feeling something cold and angry settle in my chest. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment affair. This was planned, calculated, methodical. Jennifer had been preparing for her exit strategy while still sharing my bed, still kissing me goodbye every morning, still playing the role of devoted wife. "There's something else," Caitlin says. "Julie Henderson, Jennifer's best friend from the law firm, she's been helping." "Helping how?" "Jennifer's been using Julie's credit card for some of the hotel bills. Probably figures it's harder to trace that way." Julie Henderson. I remember her from the firm's Christmas parties. Blonde, ambitious, the kind of woman who laughs too loud at her boss's jokes and always seems to be angling for something. She and Jennifer were thick as thieves, always whispering in corners and sharing knowing looks. "How do you know all this?" Caitlin looks uncomfortable. "Jennifer's been staying with me some nights when Morrison can't get away from his wife. She drinks too much wine and talks too much. Last week she was bragging about how clever they've been, how they've covered their tracks." What else did she say? That Morrison's promised to make her a full partner once his divorce goes through. Says they're going to take a long vacation to Europe to celebrate. Guess who's paying for it? The money. My money. Jennifer's going to Europe with her boyfriend on $15,000 she stole from our marriage. I gather up the bank statements and put them back in the envelope. "Kate, I need another favor." "What kind of favor?" "The kind you can say no to if it makes you uncomfortable." She crosses her arms. I'm listening. "I need to know their schedule. When they meet, where they go, what they're planning next." Danny. She's been telling people I was abusive. Do you understand what that means for me? I work with small businesses, family operations. If word gets around that I'm some kind of wife beater, I'm finished in this town. Caitlin stares at me for a long moment, then nods. "Okay, but we do this smart. No confrontations, no dramatic scenes, just information. Just information. But even as I say it, I know I'm lying. Information is just the beginning. The next morning, I drive past Jennifer's office building, our old office building, since I used to handle their computer network before the divorce made that arrangement awkward. Morrison's Porsche is parked in his reserved spot, gleaming like a silver bullet in the morning sun. I park across the street and wait. At 11:30, Jennifer comes out the front entrance, checks her phone, and walks to the parking garage. 5 minutes later, Morrison follows the same route. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. I follow Morrison's Porsche through downtown traffic, staying back far enough to avoid being noticed. They drive to a restaurant I can't afford, the kind of place where they bring you 7 different forks and the waiters wear bow ties. From my car across the street, I can see them through the restaurant's front window. Morrison's talking animatedly, gesturing with his hands. Jennifer's laughing, leaning forward, playing with her hair the way she used to when we were dating. They look happy, relaxed, like two people who've successfully pulled off a complicated plan and are now enjoying the results. I take out my phone and start taking pictures. After lunch, they don't go back to the office. Instead, Morrison drives to the Riverside Inn, the same hotel where Jennifer had been withdrawing $500 every Friday. They park in the back lot and enter through a side door. I wait in my car for 2 hours before they come out. Morrison leaves first, checking his watch and straightening his tie. Jennifer follows 10 minutes later, her hair slightly messed up despite her attempts to fix it. More pictures. That evening, I developed the photos at a 1-hour place in the mall, the kind of anonymous service where the teenage clerk doesn't care what you're photographing as long as you pay in cash. The images are clear enough. Jennifer and Morrison entering the hotel together, leaving separately, looking guilty as sin. But Frank was right about one thing. They're getting careless. As I'm leaving the photo shop, my phone buzzes with another anonymous text. Last warning. Leave Jennifer alone. This time, I don't bother responding. Instead, I forward the message to my own email account, then save it with a timestamp. Evidence. Just like Frank said. But as I drive home through the darkening streets, I realize something else. Gathering evidence isn't enough anymore. Jennifer and Morrison think they can threaten me into silence, that I'll just disappear quietly and let them enjoy their stolen money and their stolen happiness. They're about to learn how wrong they are. Morrison's Porsche is his pride and joy. I know this because Jennifer used to complain about how he'd spend 20 minutes every morning wiping down the paint job and checking for scratches. It's just a car, she'd say, rolling her eyes. But I could tell she was impressed by it. The same way she was impressed by his expensive suits and his corner office and his ability to make reservations at restaurants that were always booked solid. The car represents everything Morrison thinks makes him better than guys like me. Money, status, the kind of effortless superiority that comes with never having to check your bank balance before making a purchase. Which is why I'm standing in the parking garage beneath Henderson and Associates at 6 a.m. with a bag full of supplies from the hardware store. I'm not going to damage the car. That would be vandalism, and I'm not interested in giving Morrison any legitimate reason to call the police. But there are other ways to make a point. The parking garage is deserted at this hour, nothing but concrete and shadows and the distant hum of ventilation fans. Morrison's Porsche sits in its reserved spot like a sleeping silver cat, all curves and arrogance. I work quickly and quietly. A handful of bird seed scattered across the hood and roof. The pigeons will find it within an hour, and they'll leave their own calling cards behind. A small magnet with a GPS tracker attached to the underside of the rear bumper. I want to know where Morrison goes when he's not at the office. And finally, a business card tucked under the windshield wiper. Not my business card, that would be too obvious. Instead, I've had special cards printed up. Henderson and Associates Marriage Counseling Services, specializing in workplace affairs, confidential consultations available. I'm back in my own car and 3 blocks away before the first pigeon discovers the birdseed. The GPS tracker is Frank's idea. Know your enemy, he told me the night before. If Morrison's got other secrets, other vulnerabilities, you want to find them before you make your next move. The tracker connects to an app on my phone, showing me Morrison's location in real time. Over the next 3 days, I learn his routine. Office by 8:30, lunch at expensive restaurants, 2 visits to the Riverside Inn with Jennifer, 1 visit to a different hotel with someone else, a redhead I don't recognize. Interesting. Morrison's cheating on his wife with Jennifer, and apparently cheating on Jennifer with the redhead. The man's got more angles than a geometry textbook. On Thursday afternoon, my phone rings. Jennifer's name on the caller ID. Danny, we need to talk. Hello to you too, Jen. How's the marriage counseling business? A pause. What? Nothing. What do you want to talk about? Someone's been harassing Alec, leaving threatening messages, following him around town. He thinks it's you. Why would he think that? Because you're the only person pathetic enough to hold a grudge over something that was never going to work anyway. There's the Jennifer I remember, sweet as honey when she wants something, sharp as a knife when she doesn't get it. Our marriage was never going to work? Danny, be honest. We wanted different things. I was moving up in the world, and you were content to stay exactly where you were. It wasn't anyone's fault. Except for the part where you were sleeping with your boss and stealing money from our joint accounts. Another pause, longer this time. I don't know what Caitlin's been telling you. Caitlin didn't tell me anything I couldn't figure out for myself. $15,000, Jen. Did you really think I wouldn't notice? That money was for legal fees. Bullshit. That money was for your love nest at the Riverside Inn. $500 a week every Friday for 6 months. I can hear her breathing on the other end of the line, calculating her next move. Jennifer's always been good at thinking on her feet, but I've caught her off guard. Danny, if you're having financial problems, we can work something out. But you need to stop bothering Alec. He's talking about getting a restraining order. Let him try. I haven't done anything illegal. Following someone around, leaving threatening messages. I haven't left any threatening messages, and last I checked, driving on public roads wasn't against the law. The business card, Danny. Really? Marriage counseling? I can't help but smile. I thought it was funny. Didn't Morrison appreciate the humor? He's not laughing, and neither am I. Maybe you should find someone with a better sense of humor. I hear Morrison's got a thing for redheads. The line goes quiet. Then, what's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Just making conversation. Danny, I'm warning you. You're warning me? That's rich. You steal my money, lie about our marriage, spread rumors that I'm abusive, and now you're warning me? I never said you were abusive. Julie Henderson did, at the grocery store last week. Told Mrs. Patterson from next door that you had to leave me because I was emotionally unstable. Another calculation pause. Julie misunderstood. Julie's your best friend and your co-conspirator. She didn't misunderstand anything. I hang up before Jennifer can respond. 2 minutes later, my phone buzzes with a text from the same anonymous number. You're making a mistake. This time I text back, prove it. No response. That evening, I meet Frank at the Rusty Anchor to plan my next move. The bar's busy for a Thursday night, full of working people trying to wash away the taste of another day at jobs they don't love. Morrison's got a girlfriend on the side, I tell Frank, showing him the GPS tracking data on my phone. Frank whistles low. Guy's got brass, I'll give him that. Cheating on his wife with your ex-wife, and cheating on your ex-wife with someone else. The question is, does Jennifer know? What do you think? I consider this. Jennifer's smart, observant, trained to notice details that other people miss. But she's also in love, or at least in lust, and that can make even smart people stupid. I think she suspects something, but she's choosing not to look too closely. She's invested too much in the fantasy. So what's your play? I'm going to help her see more clearly. Frank grins and raises his beer bottle. Now you're talking my language. The redhead's name is Monica Walsh, and she works as a paralegal at a different law firm across town. I learned this by following Morrison to her apartment and checking the mailboxes. She's 26, drives a Civic, and doesn't know her boyfriend is married. I confirm it by calling her office, pretending to plan a surprise party. Would his wife and kids want to come? His what? Oh, sorry. I thought you and Alec. He told me he was divorced. I hang up, leaving her to figure it out. That night, Morrison spends 3 hours at her place. The next morning, he shows up with a black eye. Jennifer calls. What did you do? Nothing. Maybe you should ask Monica Walsh. 2 hours later, Morrison's pounding on my door, sunglasses failing to hide the damage. We need to talk, he says. This is private enough. You want money? Fine. Name your price. I want my $15,000 back, plus interest. Done. And Jennifer admits she lied about me, publicly. I'll talk to her. And stay away from my sister-in-law. You're what? Caitlin. I know you've been sniffing around. He pales. I never... Sure, just like you never cheated with Monica. Morrison's shoulders drop. How much do you want? I told you. 15,000, interest, apology, and you leave my family alone. And then you'll disappear? Then we'll be even. He turns to leave, then stops. How did you find out about Monica? Lucky guess. After he's gone, I call Frank and tell him about the conversation. He agreed too easily, Frank says. Guys like Morrison don't roll over without a fight. He's planning something. Like what? I don't know. But watch your back, Danny. Cornered animals bite. That night, someone breaks into my apartment while I'm at the grocery store. Nothing's taken, but everything's been searched. Drawers pulled out, closet ransacked, even the freezer emptied and refilled. They were looking for something. Evidence, maybe, or leverage. They didn't find what they were looking for, mainly because I keep all the important stuff in a safety deposit box at the bank. But the message is clear. Morrison's done playing games. So am I. Morrison never intended to pay me back. I realize this when I check my bank account 3 days after our conversation and find exactly the same pathetic balance I've been staring at for weeks. No $15,000, no interest, no sign that Morrison ever planned to keep his word. But I did get something out of our little chat. I got him rattled enough to make a mistake. The mistake comes in the form of a phone call I intercept using some equipment Frank borrowed from his old police contacts. Morrison's talking to someone named Vincent, and they're discussing the Danny problem. Just rough him up a little, Morrison says. Nothing permanent, just enough to convince him to back off. That'll cost extra, Vincent replies. Intimidation's one thing, but actual contact. Money's not an issue. I just want this handled quietly. When and where? He works out of his apartment most days. Building's got no security, neighbors mind their own business. Should be easy. Frank and I listen to the recording 3 times before I fully absorb what I'm hearing. Morrison's hired someone to assault me. The respectable attorney, the pillar of the community, the man who wears $1,000 suits and donates to charity, has decided to solve his problems with violence. We need to call the police, Frank says. With what? A recording that might not be admissible in court? Morrison's smart enough to deny everything, and Vincent's probably smart enough not to leave fingerprints. So what's your plan? I think about this while Frank pours us both another beer. The bar's quiet tonight, just a few regulars watching a baseball game on the big screen TV. Outside, rain patters against the windows like nature's way of setting the mood for what I'm about to suggest. We turn the tables. Meaning Vincent's expecting to find me alone in my apartment. Instead, he's going to find something else. Frank raises an eyebrow. Such as evidence, lots of evidence, and maybe a few surprises. The next morning, I move out of my apartment temporarily, taking only what I need and leaving everything else exactly where it was. I set up my laptop in Frank's back office, route my business calls to my cell phone, and wait. I don't have to wait long. Vincent turns out to be a thick-necked guy in his 40s who looks like he learned his people skills in prison. He shows up at my apartment building at 2 in the afternoon, checks the mailboxes to confirm my apartment number, and heads upstairs. I know this because Frank and I are watching from his car across the street, and because I've hidden a small camera in the hallway that feeds directly to my phone. Vincent picks my lock in about 30 seconds, clearly not his first time, and disappears into my apartment. He's inside for maybe 10 minutes before he comes back out, looking confused and angry. He calls Morrison from the hallway. "There's nobody here," Vincent says. "Place looks like he moved out." "That's impossible. His car's in the parking lot." "Well, he ain't here, and there's something else. You said this guy was some kind of computer nerd, right?" So? So why's he got surveillance equipment all over his apartment? Cameras, recording devices, the works. This place is wired like a casino. There's a long pause. Then Morrison. "Get out of there, now." "What about my money?" "Get out first. We'll talk later." Vincent leaves the building, gets in his car, and drives away. I give him a 10-minute head start, then go back to my apartment to collect the evidence. The surveillance equipment Vincent found is mostly fake, empty boxes with blinking lights that I bought at an electronics store. But the real cameras, the ones Vincent didn't find, caught everything. Him picking my lock, him searching through my belongings, him making the phone call to Morrison. More importantly, they caught his face clearly enough for identification. I spend the rest of the afternoon researching Vincent Kowalski, no relation to Frank, unfortunately. He's got a record: assault, breaking and entering, intimidation, currently on parole, which means even a minor violation could send him back to prison. That evening, I call Vincent's parole officer and report a possible violation. I don't mention the break-in directly, just suggest that Mr. Kowalski might be associating with people who could lead him back into trouble. "What kind of people?" the parole officer asks. "Wealthy people who think money can solve any problem, the kind who might ask someone with Vincent's particular skills to handle a delicate situation." "Do you have any specific information?" "Not yet, but I'm working on it." The next morning, Vincent gets an unexpected visit from his parole officer. I know this because I'm parked outside Vincent's apartment building when the official car arrives. Vincent and his parole officer have a long conversation on the sidewalk. I can't hear what they're saying, but Vincent's body language tells the story. He's nervous, defensive, clearly uncomfortable with the scrutiny. After the parole officer leaves, Vincent calls Morrison. "We got a problem," Vincent says. "Someone dropped a dime on me. Parole officer's asking questions about my recent activities." "What did you tell him?" "Nothing, but he's watching me now. I can't do the job we discussed." "What about the money I already paid you?" "What money? We never had this conversation." Vincent hangs up, leaving Morrison to stew in his own juices. But Morrison's not done yet. If he can't intimidate me with hired muscle, he'll try a different approach. The approach comes in the form of Jennifer showing up at my apartment that evening, looking like she just stepped out of a magazine. She's wearing a dress I remember buying for her birthday 2 years ago, and she's got that smile that used to make me forget whatever we'd been arguing about. "Hi, Danny." "Jen, what brings you to my humble neighborhood? Can I come in? I think we need to talk." Against my better judgment, I let her in. She looks around the apartment with barely concealed distaste, taking in the secondhand furniture and the water stain on the ceiling. "This is where you're living now?" "It's temporary." "It doesn't have to be." She sits on my couch, crosses her legs, gives me the full treatment. "Danny, I think we made a mistake." "Which mistake would that be? The marriage, the divorce, or the part where you stole $15,000 from me?" "I know you're angry. You have every right to be. But maybe we can work something out." "What kind of something?" Jennifer leans forward, and I catch a whiff of the perfume I used to buy her for Christmas. "Alec and I, it's not working out. He's not the man I thought he was." "You mean he's not leaving his wife for you?" among other things. She looks down at her hands. I've been thinking about us, about what we had. What we had was a marriage built on lies. Not all of it was lies, Danny. The good parts were real. I study her face, looking for the tell that will give away what she's really after. Jennifer's always been a good actress, but I know her better than anyone. What do you want, Jen? I want to come home. There it is, the desperation hiding behind the seduction. Morrison's world is falling apart, which means Jennifer's world is falling apart, and now she wants to crawl back to the safety of our old life. What about the money? I'll pay it back, every penny. What about the lies you told about me? I'll set the record straight. Tell everyone I was confused, emotional, not thinking clearly. And Morrison? What about him? You're just going to dump him? Jennifer shrugs. He was never going to leave his wife anyway. I was fooling myself. I walk to the window and look out at the parking lot, where Jennifer's BMW is parked next to my 10-year-old Honda. She drove here in a car that costs more than I make in a year to ask me to take her back. No. Danny? No. You made your choice, Jen. You chose Morrison. You chose his money. You chose his world. You don't get to come crawling back just because it didn't work out the way you planned. Jennifer's mask slips for just a moment, and I see the anger underneath. You're making a mistake, Danny. I'm offering you a way out of this mess. What mess? The mess you're making for yourself, following Alec around, harassing his friends, making threats. It's going to catch up with you. Is that a threat? It's a warning from someone who still cares about you. I turn away from the window and look at her, really look at her. The woman I married, the woman I loved, the woman who systematically dismantled our life together while planning her escape. Get out. Danny, get out of my apartment, get out of my life, and tell Morrison that if he sends any more of his friends to visit me, I'll make sure his wife finds out about Monica Walsh. Jennifer stands up, smooths down her dress, and walks to the door. She pauses with her hand on the knob. This isn't over. Yes, it is. You just don't know it yet. After she leaves, I pour myself a drink and call Frank. She came to see you? Frank sounds incredulous. What did she want? She wanted to come home, said she'd made a mistake with Morrison. And you said? I said no. Good man. What's your next move? I think about Jennifer's parting words, about the desperation in her eyes when I rejected her offer, about Morrison's willingness to hire someone to assault me. I think it's time to stop playing defense. What do you have in mind? Morrison's got secrets. More secrets than just Monica Walsh. I want to find them all. That could take time. Then it's a good thing I'm unemployed. The next morning, I start digging deeper into Morrison's life. His finances, his client list, his personal relationships. I'm looking for the weakness that will bring down his whole house of cards. It takes me 3 days to find it, but when I do, it's bigger than I ever imagined. Morrison hasn't just been stealing from his marriage, he's been stealing from his clients. Morrison's been skimming money from client settlements for at least 2 years. I discover this by cross-referencing public court records with the firm's published case results, looking for discrepancies in the amounts awarded versus the amounts reported. The pattern's subtle but consistent. A car accident settlement that should have paid out $200,000 but somehow only netted the client $170. A medical malpractice case where $30,000 just disappeared between the court order and the final payment. Small amounts relative to the total settlements, but they add up. I estimate Morrison's stolen close to $500,000 from his own clients. This is the kind of crime that doesn't just end careers, it ends freedom. Morrison could be looking at serious prison time if this information reaches the right people, which gives me an idea. I spend 2 days preparing my evidence, cross-checking every detail, making sure my facts are bulletproof. Then I call Morrison's office and ask for a meeting. Mr. Morrison is very busy. his secretary tells me. Perhaps someone else could help you? Tell him it's Danny Mitchell, and I have information about his client trust accounts. I think he'll make time. 10 minutes later, Morrison calls me back personally. What do you want? A face-to-face conversation, somewhere private. I'm not meeting you anywhere alone. Then bring Jennifer. Bring your whole legal team if it makes you feel safer. But we're going to talk, one way or another. There's a long pause. What's this about? Client trust accounts, settlement discrepancies, the kind of bookkeeping errors that might interest the State Bar Association. Another pause, longer this time. Where do you want to meet? The old Riverside warehouse. You know the one, down by the docks, where they used to build boats. It's empty now, Private. Nobody to overhear our conversation. Why there? Because it's neutral ground, and because I want to make sure you understand how serious this is. Morrison agrees to meet me at 8 o'clock that evening. He'll bring Jennifer, he says, because she's his legal counsel in this matter. I don't bother pointing out the obvious conflict of interest. I spend the afternoon preparing the warehouse. It's a cavernous space, all concrete floors and steel beams with broken windows that let in the sound of water lapping against the docks. I set up battery-powered lights in the center of the space, arrange some old crates as makeshift furniture, and test the acoustics. Perfect. Every word will echo clearly in the empty space. Frank arrives an hour before the meeting, carrying a duffel bag full of equipment. You sure about this? He asks, setting up cameras in the shadows where they won't be noticed. I'm sure. Morrison's desperate now. Desperate people do stupid things. I'm counting on it. At exactly 8 o'clock, I hear a car pull up outside. Then another. Morrison's brought back up. More than just Jennifer. They enter through the main door. Morrison, Jennifer, and 2 men I don't recognize. The men look like security, all shoulders and suspicious eyes. Danny. Morrison's voice echoes in the empty space. You wanted to talk. Talk. First, tell your friends to wait outside. This is a private conversation. They stay. I shrug. Fine, but you might not want witnesses for what we're about to discuss. Morrison considers this, then nods to his security team. They retreat to the entrance but remain visible. Now, Morrison says, what's this about client trust accounts? I pull out a folder full of documents and spread them on one of the crates. It's about $500,000 you've stolen from your clients over the past 2 years. Jennifer steps forward. That's a serious accusation. Do you have proof? Court records, settlement agreements, bank deposits, everything cross-referenced and documented. I hand her a summary sheet. Your boyfriend's been skimming from every major settlement the firm's handled. Jennifer studies the documents, her face growing pale. Alec? Morrison snatches the papers from her hands. This is all circumstantial. Clerical errors, accounting mistakes. 53 separate accounting mistakes? All in your favor? Come on, Morrison. Even Jennifer's not that gullible. What do you want? Morrison's voice is tight with controlled panic. I want my $15,000 back. I want Jennifer to publicly admit she lied about me, and I want you both to disappear from my life. And if we refuse? I gesture to the documents. Then copies of everything go to the state bar, the district attorney, and every major newspaper in the state. Your career ends, your reputation's destroyed, and you spend the next 10 years in prison. Morrison looks at Jennifer, who's still staring at the evidence with growing horror. You've been stealing from clients? It's not stealing. It's creative accounting. Creative accounting? Jennifer's voice rises. You've been committing felonies. Keep your voice down. Don't tell me to keep my voice down. Do you understand what this means? If this gets out, it doesn't just destroy you. It destroys me too. I'm associated with your cases, your clients, your firm. Which is why we're going to handle this quietly, Morrison says. Pay Mitchell what he wants. Make the problem go away. The problem isn't going away, I interrupt. The problem is that you're both criminals. Jennifer stole from me, you stole from your clients, And now you think you can just write a check and make it all disappear. Then what do you want? Jennifer demands. I look at both of them, these two people who thought they were smarter than everyone else, who thought they could lie and cheat and steal without consequences. I want justice. Morrison laughs, but there's no humor in it. Justice? You want revenge, Mitchell, pure and simple. Maybe. But sometimes revenge and justice are the same thing. So what's your plan? Turn us in and watch us burn? That's one option. What's the other option? I pretend to consider this. You could confess, publicly, admit what you've done, pay back the money you stole, and accept the consequences. That's not an option. Then I guess we're done here. I start gathering up the documents, but Morrison grabs my wrist. Wait, there has to be another way. Let go of me. Not until we work this out. I look down at Morrison's hand on my wrist, then up at his face. You're assaulting me, Morrison. In front of witnesses. I'm trying to have a conversation. You're trying to intimidate me. Just like you tried to intimidate me with Vincent Kowalski. Jennifer's eyes widen. Vincent who? The guy your boyfriend hired to rough me up. Didn't he tell you about that? Morrison releases my wrist. I have recordings, Morrison. Phone calls, surveillance footage, the works. You hired a convicted felon to assault me. That's not... I was just trying to scare you. By having me beaten up. Jennifer stares at Morrison like she's seeing him for the first time. You hired someone to hurt Danny? It wasn't supposed to be serious. Just a warning. A warning? You hired a criminal to assault my ex-husband? Your ex-husband was blackmailing us. I wasn't blackmailing anyone, I say. I was trying to get back money that Jennifer stole from me. Money I earned, Jennifer snaps. Money I deserved. Money that was in joint accounts with my name on them. Money you never would have had without my career, my connections, my hard work. And there it is. The truth Jennifer's been hiding behind all her lies and justifications. She doesn't think she stole from me. She thinks she was taking what was rightfully hers. So, you admit it, I say. You admit you took the money. Jennifer realizes her mistake too late. I didn't say that. Yes, you did. In front of witnesses. Morrison steps between us. This conversation is over. No, it's not. I pull out my phone and show them the recording app that's been running since they arrived. It's just getting started. Morrison's face goes white. You recorded us? Every word. Your confession about hiring Vincent, Jennifer's admission about taking the money, all of it. That's illegal. Actually, it's not. This is a one-party consent state, which means I can record any conversation I'm part of. Basic law, Morrison. I'm surprised you don't know that. Morrison looks around the warehouse desperately, as if searching for an escape route. What do you want? I told you what I want. My money back, a public apology from Jennifer, and both of you out of my life. Fine, you'll have a check tomorrow. Not good enough. I want the money tonight, cash. I don't have that kind of cash. Then you better find it, because in exactly 1 hour, I'm sending copies of everything to the district attorney's office. Morrison pulls out his phone. I need to make some calls. You have 1 hour. While Morrison steps away to make his calls, Jennifer approaches me. Danny, please, we can work this out. We already worked it out. You chose Morrison over me, remember? I made a mistake. You made a lot of mistakes. The question is whether you're willing to pay for them. What if I testify against Alec? Tell the authorities everything I know about his client trust account irregularities. I study her face. You'd throw him under the bus to save yourself? If I had to. What about love? What about your great romance? Jennifer glances over at Morrison, who's having an increasingly frantic phone conversation in the corner. I think I may have overestimated his potential. Meaning? Meaning a man who steals from his clients and hires criminals to solve his problems isn't exactly partner material. Morrison returns, his face grim. I can get you 10,000 tonight. The rest will take time. Not good enough. It's all I can do on short notice. I look at my watch. 45 minutes until I make those phone calls. Danny, be reasonable. I am being reasonable. You stole from me. You tried to have me assaulted. You spread lies about me being abusive. Reasonable would be having you both arrested. Morrison's composure finally cracks. Fine, you want to destroy us? Go ahead. But don't pretend you're some kind of hero. You're just a bitter ex-husband who can't accept that his wife outgrew him. Maybe, but I'm a bitter ex-husband with evidence of multiple felonies. Evidence you obtained illegally. Evidence I obtained by following you around and listening to your phone calls. All perfectly legal. Morrison turns to his security team. We're leaving. No, I say. You're not. You can't keep us here. I'm not keeping you anywhere. But if you leave before we resolve this, I make those phone calls immediately. Morrison hesitates, caught between his desire to escape and his fear of the consequences. Jennifer makes the decision for him. Alec, just pay him. Pay him, and let's end this. With what money? You want me to steal more from client accounts? I want you to fix this. I can't fix this. Don't you understand? It's over. Everything's over. Morrison sinks onto one of the crates, his head in his hands. For a moment, he looks less like a successful attorney and more like what he really is. A man who made a series of increasingly desperate choices and finally ran out of options. What happens now? Jennifer asks quietly. I look at both of them. These two people who dismantled my life and tried to rebuild theirs on the wreckage. Morrison's right about one thing. I do want revenge. But more than that, I want them to understand the consequences of their actions. Now you face the music, I say, pulling out my phone. Both of you. Morrison looks up. You're really going to do it? Destroy both our lives? You destroyed your own lives. I'm just making sure everyone knows about it. I dial the first number, the district attorney's office. While the phone rings, I watch Morrison and Jennifer realize that their world is about to collapse around them. Jennifer starts to cry. Morrison starts to pray. And me? I start to smile. Justice, it turns out, tastes better than revenge. The phone connects. District Attorney's Office, how can I help you? I'd like to report some crimes, I say, never taking my eyes off Morrison and Jennifer. Multiple felonies involving theft, embezzlement, and conspiracy. Can you hold, please? I've got all night. And I do. For the first time in months, I've got all the time in the world.